Hi, so my name's Tim, and I was an associate instructor in the French department at IU, the French and Italian department. And I'm just going to walk you through my bottleneck lesson for French 100, which is our first semester French course. And the section that I taught was online, so just to give you that context. The course structure. Our online courses do have a synchronous section, and that means that we do expect students to attend once a week, and that day is on Tuesdays. And so our classes are in the flipped format as well, which means that students are expected to read and do the homework before attending the synchronous Tuesday session. So on Thursdays, we have students complete My French Lab assignments, which are just workbook assignments that are either related to the grammar or the reading, or not the reading, I'm sorry, or the vocabulary. And then on Mondays, we have students complete culture or reading assignments, as well as writing or listening assignments. And then they might have a discussion board that they have to complete as well with that. And both of those are related to the content of the synchronous lesson, ideally. And so then on Tuesdays, that's our synchronous lesson, like I said. And so students will have done the Thursday and Monday homework before coming to class on Tuesday. And so the bottleneck lesson that I chose was reflexive verbs and reflexive pronouns in French, which can be a little difficult for students that are not native speakers. And you'll see why once we go into the actual bottleneck lesson. And I decided to keep it in the flipped format. And the only way to do that was by basically recording the video and asking the students to watch it outside of class, because I didn't want to spend too much time in class doing some teacher talk, because they don't have a lot of time they don't have a lot of contact time with the language anyway. So I wanted them to watch it Thursday, March 12th, because that was the week before, kind of, we were going to be learning in class the reflexive verbs. So on Tuesday, March 24th, that would have been the synchronous lesson day. And then Thursday, March 12th would have been the day that they were doing the My French Lab for the synchronous lesson day. But then, coronavirus happened, and so they got an extra week of spring break. And so there was a lot more time between the video and the synchronous lesson than I would have liked, but it still worked out, and we'll go through that data later. So this is what it looked like. Basically what I did was set up a discussion board for them. I put the directions in the discussion board. So here's the grammar for the week. Please complete this pre-quiz, watch this video, complete this post-quiz. And then I made a discussion board because I wanted them to be able to ask questions if they came up, and that was one surefire way that I'd be able to see questions, because I can get notifications if they post anything. And then, yeah. So then here's a quick look at what the pre-quiz looked like. And the pre-quiz and the post-quiz are the same to keep consistency, to be able to measure the same data. And these are pretty standard looking questions we would ask them on an exam or even in their pre-class quizzes that they have. So conjuguer la phrase, conjugate the sentence, il, and then parenthèse, se raser. And so students were only given correct answer points if they had the correct reflexive pronoun and the verb conjugated correctly. So yeah. And then the post-test looks the same, so it's not very complicated. And there's 5 questions, so it's not too extensive, but it's just to see where they're at and where they end up. So okay, let's quickly go through. This is the video. Let's quickly just watch the video, and you guys can see what I did for them, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the results looked like. Thank you. 1 second, we'll be right back.
Okay, the subject of this week's lesson plan will be les verbes pronominaux et les pronoms réfléchis, which is the grammar of chapter 4, lesson 1. So les verbes pronominaux, need les pronoms réfléchis. And these are the pronoms réfléchis. Me, te, ce, nous, vous, and ce. Each of these correspond to a subject. But before we get into the function of the reflexive pronouns, it'll be helpful to talk about the structure of a sentence. Alors, la structure d'une phrase. So the structure of a sentence, a simple structure, is un sujet, a subject. In this case, we'll use vous, a verb, which is what we do. In this case, we'll use boire or buvez for vous. Vous buvez. And then we have the object, which is, in this case, du vin. Alors, vous buvez du vin. Ça, c'est la structure d'une phrase simple. D'accord? Vous, sujet, buvez, verbe, du vin, objet. D'accord? Alors, the subject answers the question qui or who, which is, in this case, vous. And then the verb answers the question, what are they doing? And in this case, it's buvez, or drinking. And then the vin is the object, objet, which answers the quoi, which is the what. What are they doing, and to what, or to whom are they doing it? Okay? So sometimes in a sentence, the object is implied. So when we say elle étudie, or she's studying, we can infer that she's studying for her classes or for something. We can kind of guess what the object of the sentence is. So we have elle étudie ses cours, les maths, ou le français, peut-être. But the object helps us get to, the object is like a map and directions, right? When we understand someone, when they're giving us directions, it's like getting from point A to point B. In this case, we're going from Kilroy's to the library, right? And so if we understand what someone's saying to us, we know that we should take a left when leaving Kilroy's, and we'll hit the library very quickly. But sometimes when we leave the object out, it's kind of like a misunderstanding. We might still be able to get to the library, but we might take a right when leaving Kilroy's, and we're driving, and so we would have to go all the way around to get to the library. Eventually we would get there, but it would take 2 minutes longer. And this detour would be then that needing for us to answer the question, quoi, the what. We didn't know what you were talking about, right? Yeah, so the deductions is a misunderstanding, and the listener then has to ask some follow-up questions. So je baigne, or I bathe, in this case, we don't really know what you're bathing. Quoi? We don't know the quoi. Ton chien? Toi? So in this case, if you just said je baigne, you would have to ask a follow-up question as a listener. So if we go to toi, if you're then the object and the subject of the sentence, the je is me, but then I'm also the object of the sentence. I'm bathing myself. In English, we would say self. We need a pronom réfléchi. So each subject then corresponds to a reflexive pronoun. Je with me, tu with te, il, elle, and on with ce, nous with nous, vous with vous, and il, elle with ce, right? So je, me, tu, te, il, elle, on, ce, nous, vous, il, elle, ce. And so each of these then would indicate as a reflexive pronoun that you're talking about yourself as an object. So les verbes pronominaux, then, je me réveille is I wake up myself. I wake myself up. Je me réveille. Ils se voient, they see each other, and nous nous habillons. Nous nous habillons. We get dressed. Dans ces cas, les sujets sont les objets. In these cases, the subjects are the objects of the sentence that we are using, which needs to be differentiated from when the subject is not the object of the sentence, right? So, réveiller and se réveiller is a case of a verb that can be reflexive or not reflexive. In réveiller, je réveille ma mère, we have a defined object, my mother. Je réveille ma mère, I wake up my mother. I don't know, because I'm going to be late to school again. Versus contre se réveiller and je me réveille. Again, we have the same subject in the sentence, but different objects, right? De me, myself, versus ma mère, my mother. So I wake up my mother, I wake myself up. Voilà la différence. So to test if you can see the difference really between the waking of yourself or the subject versus the waking of an object, here is a sample activity. So read the sentences and indicate the action Mathilde is performing in each case. Refers to herself, elle-même, or to someone else, quelqu'un d'autre. Mathilde est très occupée ce matin. Elle s'habille. In this case, the S, s'habille, refers to herself, so elle-même, right? It's not quelqu'un d'autre. So I'll give you 30 seconds to do that with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then I'll show you the answers. Okay, so let's go over it. In the answers, then, we have 3 of them which refer to the subject. The object refers to the subject. And this is that. So we have se lave, so then it's Mathilde. Se coiffe, Mathilde. Réveille son frère, the object is her brother, quelqu'un d'autre. Coiffe sa mère, again, we have a separate object, quelqu'un d'autre, her mother. Se dépêche, herself. Brosse le chien, again, le chien is another object, so quelqu'un d'autre, her dog. So hopefully that this makes the reflexive pronouns and reflexive verbs a little bit more simple to understand. If not, please comment in the discussion below, and I'd be happy to answer and respond to any questions that you may have continuing this conversation. Thank you.
Okay, then, so let's walk a little bit through the results of the pre and post test, and then talk a little bit about what they'll be doing during the synchronous lesson. So these are the results of the bottleneck quizzes. So what it's showing that in the magenta-ish color here, this is the pre-test, and 3 out of the 10 students who took the pre-test consistently got the right formation. So when it was il se rase, they wrote il se rase. When it was je and then se réveiller, they wrote je me réveille. What the data also shows then is that one student who took the pre-test did not take the post-test. There was a dropout from here because there was only 9 respondents for the purple, but there were 10 for the magenta. Yeah, so basically what this showed is that even though there were still 3 people who did well originally on the pretest, there were 100% correctness in the post-test. So it showed that there was an uptake in understanding from the pretest to the post-test. And the pretest data, I can't really say why there was 3 students who had correct results, but I do know that this semester I did have 3 heritage speakers in my class, which are students whose parents speak French. So it's likely that they just got it right just by having had more exposure to it um, than the other students. Yeah. So then what we did during the synchronous lesson, this is what we do. So we start with this activity. Et le matin, avant d'aller en classe, qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire? La routine. D'accord? And then so they get this image and they just, with a partner, they kind of go through what are the logical, this is a vocabulary activity. What are the logical things that they're doing? So what order are they doing it in, right? And then what is the vocabulary? So basically it would start with, what would we start with here, right? Il se réveille. And then this is what they would do, right? So il se réveille, et puis il se rase. Et puis il s'essuie. Et puis elle se lave la figure. And they would just do that with their partner, just to get the vocabulary in their mind, prime their brains. Right, here we go. Voila. And then they would go autologique with this one. So this one, they're not doing anything really with conjugating. These are already conjugated. And we use the third person singular impersonal pronoun, which is on. So autologique. On fait les activités dans quel ordre? On se douche, et après on se coiffe. So they're just given two different verbs and they have to put it in the most logical order. So on se lave et on s'habille. Oui, on se lave et après on s'habille. On se coiffe, on se lave les cheveux. On se lave les cheveux et après on se coiffe. So they would just do that for this activity. And that's again just to get them thinking about what's logical and just to get them familiar again with the vocabulary. Again, so here we give them the vocabulary. Se coiffer, se coucher, se doucher. Qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? Brigitte a un t-shirt et un jean. Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait? Elle s'habille. So here, they're just expected to say the verb. Elle va s'habiller. They don't have to conjugate it. Just to get them thinking what they mean. Think about the focus of meaning is here. So again, we go through a quick revision of the bottleneck. And especially this was important because it had happened 3 weeks previous from when they studied it outside of class. So it was really important on this day to go through it. We try not to do that for the most part, but and les verbes pronominaux. So then we just give them a little bit more practice and then we move into them doing some activities. So je me lave et nous, and so here transformation, they have to conjugate it to the new form. Nous nous lavons. Elle ne se dépêche pas et moi je ne me dépêche pas. That's basically what they have to do for that. And then again, they go with their partners to do the rest of these activities. And then we use the images to prime their brain for meaning, and then they have to conjugate it on their own. So these are what their practice looks like. And then we move to what we call a more communicative activity, and they describe their own routine. And generally the routines kind of look the same, but we just want them to get practicing with using the correct reflexive pronoun, conjugating the verb correctly, because what a lot of students end up either just not using the right reflexive pronoun, so they'll just keep it se, so je se réveille, and they'll have that correctly conjugated, or they'll say je me, but then they'll say the infinitive of this, so they'll say je me réveillais. So what we really want them to be doing here in this point is to make sure that they're using a subject, because not all foreign languages need a subject pronoun, then a reflexive pronoun, and then the verb correctly conjugated. And that's the goal. And then at the end of that day, so our synchronous lessons are divided into two portions. There's the grammar, which would only take up about 30 minutes of practice. And then we have a bunch of vocabulary, which we like to go over with practice as well. And then we have at the end of the lesson a huge activity that tries to synthesize it all. And it's called a skill building activity where students have to use one of the um, forms of communication to say something based on what we did that day. So I don't remember what this day's was. I think it was about shopping, and they had to watch a video on someone getting ready. But yeah, so then at the end of that day, I asked them to do a cat, and this was just like the simile cat. Reflexive verbs are like. Um, and this is what they said. They weren't um, they weren't too out of the ordinary. There's a couple, but a verb that's an object. That's object is the same as the subject. So that person didn't do a simile. They just defined it for me. Um, this one, verbs that are agreeing with the pronoun, equivalent to English saying I do this to myself. Again, this is more of a definition. I should have been more clear as to what I wanted. Um, but it's not wrong. Neither of these are right. Like, so that was good. They both defined it correctly. And this one, they just gave examples. But they were all kind of like that. I just chose the three that were like the most illustrious of the bunch. But yeah, it seemed, according to the pre and post test, that it worked. And then the synchronous lesson, it also worked out pretty well. So yeah, that was my bottleneck lesson. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have fun creating your own bottleneck lessons.